these women displayed tremendous strength and bravery by coming forward to law enforcement and participating directly in 2 grueling criminal trials.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're looking at the most famous scandals that brought down celebrities.
With that single inflammatory tweet, Roseanne's rising star imploded today.
Fatty Arbuckle. A wildly popular comedian in the early Hollywood era, Fatty Arbuckle starred in a number of silent films and helped usher in the concept of movie stars. He signed a monumental contract with Paramount in 1920 worth $1 million a year, but just 1 year later his career came crashing down. A model named Virginia Rappe died after attending a party hosted by Arbuckle, and rumours quickly spread that the silent film star had sexually assaulted Rappe during the party, leading to fatal injuries. He was put on trial 3 separate times for her death, and he was ultimately acquitted of all charges. Despite the acquittal, his films were briefly banned, and the scandal brought a swift end to his pioneering career. Katherine Heigl.
And we tried to make it work, and that was good, I suppose. But it doesn't work.
Despite starring in Grey's Anatomy and a number of popular films, Katherine Heigl made a series of PR missteps that severely affected her burgeoning career. She openly criticised Knocked Up despite it being her most popular film, calling it sexist and upsetting both Seth Rogen and Judd Apatow. It was also around this time that Heigl withdrew her name from Emmy consideration, stating she didn't feel the writing for her character warranted acclaim. This was seen as a passive attack on the show's writers and created tension with its creator, Shonda Rhimes, and Heigl was ultimately released from her contract. Her once promising trajectory as a rom-com queen and TV star cooled significantly and never warmed back up.
Please don't do this to me. Please don't take this away from me. I don't have anything left.
Allison Mack.
Actress Allison Mack is out on bail after facing a judge in Brooklyn. Prosecutors say she recruited women into a sex trafficking sorority disguised as a women's empowerment group.
Even though she's out of prison, we don't see Allison Mack returning to the screen anytime soon. Helping to run a cult will do that to one's career. Mack made herself a great career on television, starring in both Smallville and Wilfred, but it all ended when she got caught up with the cult NXIVM. The former actress was a high-ranking member of the organization and played a key role in recruiting outside women. Mack coerced newcomers into providing damaging personal information and collateral to ensure their obedience, and she even branded them with the initials of the cult's founder, Keith Raniere. She was ultimately arrested in 2018 on charges of trafficking and forced labor and spent 21 months in prison.
Mack's lawyers are hoping to avoid a trial, and earlier this month, Raniere's lawyers denied he'd committed any crime. If convicted, both he and Mack could face up to life in prison.
Such a disturbing story.
Shoeless Joe Jackson.
Did you ever hold a ball or a glove to your face? Yeah. I used to love traveling on the trains from town to town. The hotels. Brass spittoons in the lobbies, brass beds in the rooms.
Despite being one of the most prominent names in baseball history, Shoeless Joe Jackson is not in the Hall of Fame, and he likely never will be. It's all thanks to the 1919 Black Sox scandal. 8 members of the Chicago White Sox were caught working with a gambling syndicate and intentionally threw the World Series, losing to the Cincinnati Reds. They each received a small payment from the syndicate, but it was really a price to pay for their tarnished legacies. The integrity of baseball was ruined, so in order to bolster public sentiment and revive interest in the sport, Commissioner Kennesaw Landis banned all 8 players. Despite his reputation as an excellent hitter, Shoeless Joe never played again.
Getting thrown out of baseball was like having part of me amputated. I've heard that old men wake up and scratch itchy legs that have been dust for over 50 years. That was me.
Ellen DeGeneres.
This TV producer is speaking out on camera for the first time about what it was like working for Ellen DeGeneres.
Toxic, phony, hypocrite, liar. That's what she is.
It's amazing how fast careers can end. Despite being a legend in television, Ellen DeGeneres faced a public onslaught in the summer of 2020 after it was found that she harbored a toxic workplace environment. Reports from employees claimed there was constant mistreatment on the set of the Ellen DeGeneres show, including racism and sexual misconduct by senior staff. While DeGeneres herself was not directly accused of harassment, many criticized her for fostering a culture of abuse, and one that directly contradicted her show's Be Kind message. DeGeneres tried soldering through the scandal, but it didn't work. Her show quickly came to an end, and she retired to England in 2024.
I know that I'm in a position of privilege and power, and I realize that with that comes responsibility, and I take responsibility for what happens at my show.
Russell Brand.
A woman who has accused British comedian and presenter Russell Brand of sexual misconduct has described his response to the allegations as insulting.
This comedian was uber successful in the late 2000s and early 2010s, known for his movies, radio show and fast-talking shtick. But like many male celebrities, he was eventually brought down thanks to his salacious behaviour. In September 2023, multiple women accused Brand of sexual assault and abusive behaviour, with the incidents dating all the way back to 2003. For his part, Brand has denied all of the allegations, stating that his relationships were consensual and suggesting that the accusations are part of a coordinated effort to silence him due to his outspoken views. Regardless, the scandal led to significant public backlash and the cancellation of his popular podcast, Under the Skin.
I'm really sorry. I apologise for offending you, Pete. I just hope this doesn't ruin our friendship.
Whoa, what's that about?
What do you think it's about? This is a big deal.
What about a code of the ocean?
Janet Jackson.
So Janet says that this is going to be the first and the last time that she ever talks about what happened that day.
One of the most notorious scandals in entertainment history belongs to Janet Jackson, even though it was through no fault of her own. Jackson was performing at the Super Bowl 38 halftime show with a number of other artists, including Justin Timberlake. Everyone knows what happens next. In the final seconds of the show, an infamous wardrobe malfunction occurred, exposing Jackson to everyone watching at home. The resulting fallout was historic, and unfortunately, Jackson bore much of the blame. She was effectively blacklisted from the entertainment industry, and her career took an irreversible hit. Luckily, steps have been made in recent years to restore her tarnished reputation.
What are you apologizing for?
Yeah, why am I apologizing for an accident?
Well, you did say in the apology you apologize for anybody who might have been offended by
Right, and they wanted me to say that, so I did. They thought it was best that I do, so I did.
Gina Carano.
I was speaking out about lockdowns, mass vaccinations, and pronouns way before anybody was even, saying a word about it. And so I was a little bit ahead. I'm sure if I would have done that now, it wouldn't have been a big deal.
She was once the face of women's MMA, and later established herself in the Star Wars universe with The Mandalorian. Gina Carano had it made in the shade, and she ruined it with some ignorant posts on social media. Whether it was downplaying COVID and questioning mask mandates, aligning with far-right narratives about election fraud, or mocking the transgender community, Carano's posts received an onslaught of criticism. But the final straw for many came in February 2021, when Carano shared a post on Instagram comparing the treatment of American conservatives to the persecution of Jews in the Holocaust. She was fired by Lucasfilm and lost all mainstream support, but became a prominent figure in conservative circles.
Quid pro quo with Ukraine. Brilliant strategy. Then accused Trump of making a phone call doing the exact same thing they were doing. Oh, and guess what happened to that $1 billion loan to Ukraine?
Vince McMahon.
And several former employees, including wrestling superstars, now coming forward, talking about the WWE's culture, saying it's toxic, abusive, widespread, pervasive.
Perhaps the biggest name in wrestling history, Vince McMahon is credited with bringing the sport to the mainstream, creating the wildly popular WrestleMania, and even becoming a WWE champion through his villainous character, Mr. McMahon. But in mid-2022, reports emerged that McMahon had paid millions of dollars in hush money to multiple employees in order to cover up alleged cases of sexual misconduct and affairs. The scandal worsened in January 2024 when former employee Janelle Grant accused McMahon of sex trafficking and forcing her to sign a non-disclosure agreement. McMahon resigned as chairman of TKO Group Holdings and is currently under federal investigation.
You know, it wasn't just Vince McMahon, even back then, Dan. It was a kind of a culture, a seedy, criminal culture that we were exposing at the time.
Jeffrey Tambor.
It was a landmark role on a groundbreaking hit series, but now, that's right, he may not return as two transgender actresses accuse him of misconduct.
A veteran of the small screen, Jeffrey Tambor has long drawn both popularity and acclaim, and in the 2010s, he earned 2 Emmys for playing Maura Pfefferman on Amazon's groundbreaking Transparent, but in November of 2017, Tambor was accused of sexual misconduct by multiple women, including a makeup artist and his former assistant. Tambor quit the show that was making him a household celebrity, and while he defended himself against the misconduct of allegations, he did admit that he suffers from anger issues. While no criminal charges were brought against Tambor, the accusations effectively killed his career, and he has not been seen on TV since.
A second allegation of inappropriate behavior against actor Jeffrey Tambor from one of his Transparent co-stars.
Louis C.K.
He joked about how men mistreated women, had even been referred to as a male feminist, but now his own behavior in question, and this morning that stunning admission.
One of the biggest downfalls of the #MeToo era belongs to Louis C.K., who at the time was one of the world's biggest comedians. In November of 2017, the New York Times dropped a bombshell, reporting that Louis C.K. had engaged in acts of inappropriate behavior with at least 5 different women. Unlike some other celebrities who went down in the era, C.K. admitted everything, stating that he wielded his power irresponsibly. His burgeoning career disappeared overnight, with many networks cancelling his projects and his manager firing him as a client. The comedian has attempted a comeback in recent years, including a sold-out performance at Madison Square Garden in 2023, but his popularity is nowhere near what it once was.
What are we supposed to learn from cranky, hungry Jesus?
TJ Miller.
TJ Miller is under arrest, accused of calling in a fake bomb threat.
This was a very fast rise and fall, occurring within the span of just a few years. Following a number of supporting roles, TJ Miller became a household name in 2014 after starring in Silicon Valley, and just 3 years later he was being accused of sexual assault. The story dates back to 2001, when Miller was attending university and allegedly became violent during a sexual encounter. As a result of the accusations, Miller was fired from How to Train Your Dragon: The Hidden World. Just a few months later, he was arrested after getting intoxicated on a train and placing a fake bomb threat. Both events were enough to kill his career, and he hasn't acted in any capacity since 2020.
I know that you look at me and see a guy who has it all figured out. And for the most part, you're right.
CeeLo Green.
CeeLo, whose real name is Thomas DeCarlo Calloway, is due back in court today for the first time since entering a not guilty plea in October to a felony charge of furnishing a controlled substance.
Just as his solo career was taking off, CeeLo Green was brought back down to earth thanks to an infamous sexual battery scandal. In October of 2012, a woman accused Green of drugging her with ecstasy during a dinner in Los Angeles, alleging that she woke up in his bed with no memory of what had happened the night before. He was sentenced to 3 years of probation after pleading no contest to the felony of furnishing ecstasy. However, the situation escalated when Green made a series of troubling tweets about consent, implying that it wasn't possible to be assaulted if someone was unconscious. These nonsensical comments sparked widespread backlash, and Green's career has not been the same since. Charlie Rose.
When next to those claims of sexual misconduct against veteran broadcast journalist Charlie Rose. 8 women and their allegations first reported in the Washington Post. Tonight, his response, and CBS News now suspending him.
One of the most prominent journalists of the 20th century, Charlie Rose was long employed by PBS, with his eponymous talk show attracting widespread acclaim for its complex topics and intellectualism. Rose was a great interviewer, and his show attracted the best and brightest minds in the world. But he was yet another target of #MeToo, and in November 2017, several women accused the renowned host of sexual misconduct. The incidents, including lewd phone calls, groping, and unwanted sexual advances, reportedly occurred over decades. The allegations were scathing and resulted in Rose's termination from both PBS and CBS, effectively ending his broadcasting career.
Here you have the media who's been exposing these stories, but at the same time, very much part of the storyline.
There's almost no one in any profession that can really point that finger and not be looking at their own field.
Marilyn Manson.
I presented to them hundreds of pieces of evidence, including photos of my body covered in bites, bruises, and knife wounds, emails and text messages.
This shock rocker has long attracted controversy for his image and music, but it wasn't his performance art that ultimately brought him down. It was, once again, accusations of sexual misconduct. In 2021, Manson was accused of sexual abuse by his former girlfriend, Evan Rachel Wood, and multiple others came forth with similar claims. 5 separate women ultimately sued Manson in civil court, leading to a years-long criminal investigation that ended in no charges being filed against the singer. Despite Manson's acquittal, the accusations did significant damage to both his personal reputation and career.
Marilyn Manson will not face criminal charges tied to allegations of sexual assault and domestic violence. That announcement today from the LA County DA.
Tonya Harding.
Judges are going to do what's right, and if I do a clean program and Nancy does a clean program, I'm going to win.
How about her comments, though, that you're easy to beat?
We'll see.
This American figure skater was on the cusp of greatness. In 1991 alone, she won the US Championships and was runner-up in the World Championships in Munich. She defeated Nancy Kerrigan in the latter competition, who took home the bronze. But Harding feared what Kerrigan was capable of and considered her closest competitor. In January of 1994, Kerrigan was attacked by a man named Shane Stant. The attack was eventually traced back to Harding's ex-husband, Jeff Gillooly, who hoped to take Kerrigan out of the upcoming Winter Olympics. Harding later admitted to covering up the attack and was banned from figure skating, bringing a startling end to her promising career.
The top concern, the top priority is, my training and getting this all over with so I can get on with my life. And I don't care if I wasn't to get one endorsement. I just want to be able to skate and follow through with my dream.
Ian Watkins.
Some kind of large inquiry really needs to happen.
A mildly successful rock band from the 2000s, Lost Prophets enjoyed 2 top 10 singles on the UK chart, including what is probably their most famous song, Last Train Home. The group released 5 albums between 2000 and 2012, but they disbanded in 2013 following the horrific accusations against lead singer Ian Watkins. Watkins was charged with a number of disgusting offences that we won't get into here, and his bandmates broke away and started a new group called No Devotion. How fitting. As for Watkins, he was sentenced to 29 years in prison and will be eligible for parole in 2031.
What action, if any, was taken by South Wales Police each time Joanne Magellicks made a complaint against Watkins? What happened to the reports from other complainants? And perhaps most significantly, could Watkins' offending have been stopped earlier if the police had taken a different course of action?
Oscar Pistorius.
I don't wish that on any human being. Finding out what happened, it devastated us.
An accomplished sprinter, Oscar Pistorius was the winner of 6 Paralympic gold medals, winning 1 in Athens, 3 in Beijing, and 2 in London. The latter Paralympics ended on September 9, 2012, and his career came to an abrupt and violent end just 5 months later. On February 14, 2013, Pistorius shot and killed his girlfriend Reva Steenkamp, supposedly after mistaking her for an intruder. This kick-started a years-long criminal procedure involving multiple sentences and appeals, and it finally ended with Pistorius getting 15 years in prison. He ultimately served 8.5 and was released in January of 2024. Regardless, his sporting career is unequivocally over.
It is unclear how long or if he will be allowed to train, to go back to running. That is probably a condition that he has fought very hard for, because he would have wanted to do that, go back on the track and train.
Gary Glitter.
What happened here is the stuff of nightmares. Gary Glitter's victim cried as she told the jury of the night she was attacked.
The law has followed Gary Glitter ever since he first got into trouble in the late 1990s. Probably best known for his song Rock and Roll Part 2, Gary Glitter had a successful career throughout the 70s and 80s. However, he was in prison in 1999 for downloading illicit material, and neither his life nor his career has been the same since. A number of serious charges followed the initial conviction, all of them involving horrific sexual offences, and these charges have followed him all around the world, from Cambodia to Vietnam and back to his home country of England. He is currently serving a 16-year sentence, which he received in 2015, following charges of indecent and unlawful sexual assault.
As the judge handed down the 16-year prison sentence, there was no emotion from Gary Glitter. He looked over at a couple of fans who were in court clutching memorabilia. They gave him a wave and a thumbs up as he was taken away from the dock.
O.J. Simpson.
Right now, the pay-per-view industry is saying, an O.J. story, no way, no how. But emotions are still running high. You might believe with $50 million, maybe more at stake, there will come the day when someone will say, an O.J. story, some way, somehow.
While his football career had long been over, O.J. Simpson was still in the public spotlight in 1994. He was working as a football analyst for NBC, he owned hotels and restaurants, and perhaps most substantially, he was trying his hand at acting, having just appeared in all 3 Naked Gun films. Of course, all of this went out the window when he was charged with murdering Nicole Brown and Ron Goldman. The trial, while enormously popular and unprecedented in scale, was an effective end to his career. It didn't matter if he was guilty or not. It was all over after this. Of course, it didn't help that the trial ended the way that it did.
We, the jury, in the above entitled action find the defendant or
Orenthal James Simpson not guilty of the crime of murder in violation of Penal Code Section 187A, a felony upon Nicole Brown Simpson, a human being, as charged in count 1 of the information.
Sean Diddy Combs. Throughout his lengthy career, music mogul Sean Diddy Combs has faced several legal issues ranging from physical assault to weapons violations and sexual harassment. Surprisingly, none of these cases significantly affected his career until 2023. In November of that year, Combs' former partner, singer and actress Cassie filed a lawsuit alleging sexual assault, sex trafficking, and domestic violence during their decade-long relationship.
This was really big news in the hip-hop space and beyond for a few key reasons. First of all, the severity of the allegations were utterly shocking.
Although Combs denied the allegations through his attorney, he swiftly reached a settlement with Cassie the day after the lawsuit was filed. In the subsequent weeks, additional sexual assault lawsuits emerged, including one involving a minor. These allegations effectively tarnished his legacy forever and left him facing serious prison time.
Diddy Combs has been denied bail in connection with the sexual abuse and sex trafficking charges he faces. And as Les Trent reports, the music mogul who once traveled by private jet to all those mansions is now in a jail that is notorious for its bad living conditions.
Justin Roiland. Though not the most recognizable celebrity, Justin Roiland gained fame as the co-creator of the popular Adult Swim series Rick and Morty.
Dad, there's a way we do this now.
Morty, would you please accompany me to Forbodulon Prime for death crystals?
Well, thank you for asking. Yes, I will do that.
However, his career took a hit in January 2023 when it was reported that he was charged with felony domestic battery and false imprisonment for a 2020 incident involving his then-girlfriend. This triggered a cascade of allegations against Roiland, ranging from predatory behavior towards minors to sexual harassment in the workplace. In the wake of these allegations, Adult Swim and other companies affiliated with Roiland severed ties with him. Although Roiland's criminal charges were dismissed in March due to insufficient evidence, fresh accusations against him had emerged by September. He, however, denied the claims through his attorney. Isaiah Washington. Hollywood actor Isaiah Washington is mostly known for one role and one role only, Dr. Preston Burke on Grey's Anatomy.
The honor of performing first surgery is reserved for the intern that shows the most promise. As I'm running the OR today, I get to make that choice. George O'Malley. Me? You'll scrub in for an appendectomy this afternoon.
This is because after Washington was fired from the show, his career took a nosedive and never recovered. Washington's dismissal stemmed from an on-set incident in which he called his co-star, T.R. Knight, a homophobic slur. Then, after the matter became public, Washington was questioned about it at the Golden Globes and went on to repeat the same slur.
During this Golden Globes press conference, Washington, standing with the show's cast, used a homophobic slur in an effort to set the record straight about an on-set incident with fellow cast member T.R. Knight.
A few months later, he was let go from the series. The media attention around the incident essentially forced Knight, who reportedly hadn't even disclosed his sexual orientation to his family yet, to come out publicly.
No, there's no soul searching and no apology to T.R. Knight. What I apologize for, and I will continue to apologize for if you're going to be accused of something, you don't go in the Golden Globes and use the very word that you've been accused of using. That was a huge mistake.
Ryan Lochte. You know your career is in jeopardy when a scandal adds the infamous "gate" suffix to your name. The incident known as Lochtegate unfolded during the 2016 Summer Olympics in Brazil, involving US swimmer Ryan Lochte and 3 teammates.
He took our money, he took my wallet, and then...
But he left your cell phone, he left your credential.
He left my cell phone, he left my credential, but he took my wallet and he took all the guys in his tech.
Lochte initially claimed that they were robbed at a gas station by armed individuals impersonating police officers. However, Brazilian authorities conducted an investigation and found no evidence of such robbery. Instead, they determined that the swimmers had vandalized the gas station and were made to pay for the damages by the security guards. Lochte later publicly apologized, admitting that he had exaggerated the incident.
I'm human. I made a mistake, and that's something that I'm going to have to live with.
Consequently, he was suspended for 10 months by USA Swimming and lost all of his major sponsorships. Amber Heard. Although the marriage between Amber Heard and Johnny Depp was brief, it triggered a series of events that would ultimately ruin Heard's career.
It was very, very toxic. We were awful to each other. You know, I made a lot of mistakes. A lot of mistakes. But I've always told the truth.
During their 2016 divorce proceedings, Heard accused Depp of domestic violence, a claim she appeared to reiterate in a 2018 article. As a result, Depp sued Heard for defamation, claiming that he was the actual victim of domestic violence. Heard countersued Depp, resulting in a trial that was widely watched and received extensive social media coverage, most of which was critical towards her.
There's absolutely no question that especially Johnny Depp's lawyers are playing to the public. There's no question.
Ultimately, the jury dismissed all but one of Heard's claims and ruled that she had defamed Depp. This portrayed her as dishonest in the public eye and effectively tarnished her reputation in Hollywood. Jonathan Majors. Ever since his screen debut in 2017, Jonathan Majors had been on a steady rise in Hollywood. In 2023, he began portraying Kang the Conqueror in the MCU, a character expected to play a central role in the franchise's 6th phase.
You're out of your league, Ant-Man. Just be glad I need you.
However, that March, Majors faced a series of charges including assault and aggravated harassment stemming from an incident with his then-girlfriend. Subsequently, multiple individuals came forward alleging that he had also assaulted them. The consequences followed swiftly. Majors was dropped by his management company and PR firm, and his film, Magazine Dreams, was removed from Disney's release schedule. A criminal trial for the assault charges began in November 2023, finding Majors guilty of misdemeanor assault and harassment. Marvel dropped him from future productions.
Oh, it was colossal that Marvel dropped, Jonathan from future projects. Colossal. We're talking about the most successful film franchise of all times, the most visible project that he's been a part of.
Michael Vick. Once the highest paid NFL player, Michael Vick enjoyed great success as a star quarterback for the Atlanta Falcons.
Vick steps up, enters the red zone, inside the 15, the 10, turns the corner, dives, touchdown.
The Giants defense, you can't play him in true man-to-man because you're turning your back to him. It just parts like the Red Sea in front of him.
However, in 2007, his career took a hit when it was revealed that he had operated a venture called Bad News Kennels, which organized illegal dogfights. Authorities searched Vick's property in Surry County, Virginia, and discovered disturbing evidence of animal cruelty. Consequently, Vick pleaded guilty to federal and state charges related to running the dogfighting ring, resulting in a 23-month sentence in federal prison.
Best thing for me that ever happened to me in my life was me getting shipped off to Kansas, man. Because other than that, I wasn't going to change.
The scandal prompted the NFL to indefinitely suspend Vick and led to the loss of multiple sponsorship deals. Although he eventually made a comeback, this incident remains a significant stain on Vick's once pristine career. Milli Vanilli. For a short period in the late 80s and early 90s, German-French duo Milli Vanilli were one of the biggest acts in pop music.
Girl, you know it's true.
They toured the world on the back of their hit debut album, released in the US as Girl, You Know It's True, and won the Grammy for Best New Artist.
We want to say thank you very much, but we want to say there are a lot of artists here in this room. There are a lot of artists outside in the world who could achieve the same award that we achieved today.
But their newfound fame vanished almost as quickly as it emerged, when it was revealed that the two didn't sing on any of their album's tracks. Instead, their producer, Frank Farian, had hired other vocalists to perform the songs, while Milli Vanilli only lip-synced. As a result, the duo were forced to return their Grammy to the Recording Academy, and were dropped by their label, Arista Records.
The purpose of the event was to announce the pair was returning the Grammy Awards they won for the Best New Artist of 1989. But the Recording Academy had already stripped them of the trophies the day before.
Jeffrey Jones. With roles in iconic 80s movies like Ferris Bueller's Day Off and Beetlejuice, Jeffrey Jones became one of the most revered character actors in Hollywood.
Welcome,
Charles.
It's okay, there's no damage. Look, see? It's okay. Good, sturdy country craftsmanship. And look at that kitchen. You're finally going to be able to cook a decent meal.
His career continued to blossom throughout the 90s, but came to a screeching halt in 2002 when he made headlines for all the wrong reasons. Jones had been indicted for possession of explicit photographs involving a minor, and pleaded no contest to the charges. Although he received no jail time, he was sentenced to 5 years probation and made to register as a sex offender. Since then, Jones has managed a few film and TV appearances, but his career has never remained the same.
You ever been beaten, Merrick?
Once, when I thought I had the smallpox, Doc Cochran slapped me in the face.
Pete Rose. As a Major League Baseball player, Pete Rose was outstanding.
Batting stance that he's vulnerable in. If you have a lump in your throat, you're only human.
Among his plethora of accolades, Rose won Rookie of the Year, MVP, and 3 World Series rings. Following a phenomenal career as a player, Rose began managing the Cincinnati Reds, the same team with which he got his professional start. In 1988, evidence surfaced showing that Rose had bet on baseball games, including those on his own team, the Reds.
But all I can tell you about that is I did nothing to alter the statistics of baseball.
The problem a lot of people still have is, why would he do it? Why would he bet on baseball?
I screwed up.
Why risk the integrity of the game?
I don't know.
Although he initially denied the claims, Rose agreed to a lifetime ban from the sport, eventually ruling himself ineligible for the Baseball Hall of Fame. After years of repeated denials, Rose published an autobiography in 2004, in which he publicly admitted to the gambling allegations.
You denied that you bet on baseball for 14 years. Why did you wait so long?
That's a good question.
Danny Masterson. After rising to prominence on the Fox comedy series That 70s Show, Danny Masterson further established himself with roles in other sitcoms like Men at Work and The Ranch.
Yeah, he just said good job, and then I think he felt nauseous and went outside to get some air.
Controversy erupted in 2017, however, when Masterson was accused of sexual assault by 4 women. This led Netflix to fire him from The Ranch. The women claimed that Masterson assaulted them during their time in the Church of Scientology, of which he was also a member. Additionally, they alleged that other church members harassed them after they came forward with their allegations. Despite vehemently denying the accusations, Masterson was charged with 3 counts of sexual assault and ultimately convicted of 2. He was sentenced to 30 years to life in prison.
The 3 women in this case told the judge that Masterson's crimes had ruined their lives and asked the judge to give the actor life behind bars.
Anthony Weiner. Former New York Congressman Anthony Weiner earned national attention in 2010 after giving an impassioned speech on the House floor. About a year later, he found himself in the headlines again, this time for sending lewd photos of himself to a woman on Twitter, who was not his wife. The ensuing controversy resulted in him resigning from Congress in June of 2011.
Unfortunately, the distraction that I have created has made that impossible. So today I am announcing my resignation from Congress.
Following an absence from the spotlight, Weiner resurfaced in 2013, announcing a bid for mayor of New York City. But yet again, allegations of even more sexting ran his campaign to the ground. In 2017, Weiner faced criminal charges after it was revealed that he had exchanged explicit material with a minor. He was sentenced to 21 months in prison.
Weiner was hoping to avoid any jail time, looking for probation. His lawyers arguing that he's on his way to recovery and would not receive proper therapy inside prison.
Kevin Spacey. Oscar-winning actor Kevin Spacey was at the peak of his career in 2017 when he experienced a dramatic downfall.
I imagine that many of you can understand that there's a lot for me to process after what has just happened today.
It all began with actor Anthony Rapp accusing Spacey of sexually assaulting him when he was a minor. In response, Spacey publicly apologized to Rapp, then inexplicably decided to use the opportunity to come out as gay, a move that was met with swift backlash. Rapp's claims were followed by a wave of other allegations, resulting in Spacey being fired from House of Cards, dropped by his publicist and talent agency, and quite literally scrubbed out of a film. Spacey faced multiple criminal sexual assault charges in both the US and UK, but was ultimately cleared of all of them.
And he's been found not guilty of all of these offenses. Kevin Spacey will see this as an opportunity to revive his career, but what played out in court was truly riveting.
Michael Richards. As Cosmo Kramer on Seinfeld, Michael Richards was beloved by millions of fans, who, for years, closely associated him with the eccentric but lovable character.
Jerry, I know myself. If I'm out on the street and it starts to go down, I don't back off until it's finished.
Are we finished?
Done.
In 2006, that perception changed dramatically when a recording of Richards' set at the Laugh Factory was released by TMZ. In the clip, Richards bursts into an expletive-riddled racist rant after he is heckled by some members of the audience. Days later, Richards made a virtual appearance on The Late Show with David Letterman, in which he publicly apologized for his remarks.
I'm really busted up over this, and I'm very, very sorry to those people in the audience, the blacks, the Hispanics, the whites, everyone that was there that took the brunt of that anger and hate and rage.
Many, including one of the effective audience members, were unconvinced by this apology. In 2007, Richards announced he was dropping his mic and retiring from stand-up comedy.
But no, I busted up after that event 7 years ago. It broke me down.
Mark Sulling. Mark Sulling rose to prominence playing football star and bad boy Noah Puckerman on the Fox musical series Glee.
Sweet Caroline.
Sulling lost significant favour in December 2015 when he was arrested based on the suspicion that he possessed explicit pictures and videos involving minors. This suspicion was later confirmed after police discovered the unsavoury material on his computer and flash drives. He was brought up on criminal charges the following May and eventually pleaded guilty to the crime. In light of the scandal, the actor was fired from an upcoming project with filmmaker Adi Shankar. While awaiting sentencing, Sulling took his own life in January of 2018.
This is where Salling's body was discovered near a riverbed in Sunland. Happened right around 8:50 this morning. TMZ is reporting that Salling may have taken his own life.
Paula Deen. The one celebrity chef famous for her traditional southern recipes, Paula Deen led a successful cooking empire with multiple restaurants and TV shows.
Food is a vehicle that gets you here with me. But look at this. And look at that.
That's heaven on earth.
This empire began to crumble, however, when a former employee sued Deen for discrimination. The lawsuit brought with it a deposition, during which Deen admitted to having used racial slurs in the past.
According to the deposition, Deen was asked, "Have you ever used the N-word yourself?" To which she replies, "Yes, of course." When asked for context, she said it was in a conversation with her husband.
Once the transcript found its way to the public in 2013, Deen released multiple tearful apologies, pleading for forgiveness. That did little to stop her from losing several sponsors and her contract with the Food Network.
The Food Network's decision has caused a backlash of its own. Many of her angry fans flooded its Facebook page with comments like, "Please bring Paula Deen back, and I will no longer watch the Food Network because of the unjust treatment of Paula."
Since then, the Georgia chef has attempted a comeback, opening even more restaurants and launching her own online food channel. However, she has yet to attain the same level of success. Jared Fogle. Beginning in the early 2000s, Jared Fogle became a spokesman for Subway restaurants after claiming that their meals played a part in his rapid weight loss.
Then I found Subway restaurants. And I realized I could enjoy lots of great tasting food without lots of fat.
Fogle began appearing in a series of commercials for the company and reportedly contributed to significant growth in Subway's sales. Things took a shocking turn in 2015, however, when Fogle's home was raided and he was arrested as a result of a lengthy FBI investigation.
A month ago, authorities raided his Indiana home, confiscating cell phones, hard drives, and cameras.
You just wouldn't expect it out of a family like that.
Just hours after that raid, Subway suspended their relationship with Jared.
Apparently, Fogle had engaged in inappropriate relationships with minors and distributed obscene material involving youth. He pleaded guilty to multiple criminal charges and was sentenced to more than 15 years in prison.
Jared Fogle expects to go to prison. He will do his time. He expects to get well. He expects to continue to make amends to those people whose lives he has affected.
Stephen Collins. For more than a decade, Stephen Collins led the TV series Seventh Heaven, starring as Protestant minister Eric Camden.
Welcome, everyone. I'd like to read something from Ecclesiastes.
Although most of you may have thought this was from the Byrds.
He made a number of appearances in films and TV show afterwards, only to completely disappear from the screen in 2014. Collins had been embroiled in controversy that year when a tape recording leaked featuring a man who sounded like the actor admitting to assaulting a minor in the past.
When did you realize she was wearing a wire?
She took me into a stairwell and she told me there, she revealed that, she said, I recorded. I was wearing a wire. I recorded that session.
He eventually confessed to the crime, disclosing that he had engaged in inappropriate sexual conduct with 3 female minors in 1973, 1982, and 1994. Although he evaded prosecution reportedly due to the statute of limitations, Collins was fired from multiple Hollywood projects and has stayed away from the spotlight ever since.
Following the October release of the tape, Collins had lost acting jobs, and the show that made him famous has been pulled from syndication.
Lance Armstrong. Once widely regarded as one of the greatest cyclists of all time, Lance Armstrong brought global attention to the sport.
Armstrong wins the Tour de France.
For 7 straight years, he dominated arguably the hardest sporting event in the world.
Armstrong won 7 consecutive Tour de France titles, a feat made more impressive by the fact that he had beat cancer a few years prior. Despite all of that acclaim, Armstrong faced allegations of doping for years, which he continuously denied.
It's unfortunate that the yellow jersey of the Tour de France always has to defend drugs. Extraordinary accusations must be followed up with extraordinary proof. You said that I am the cancer, and the cancer is out of remission. You are not worth the chair that you're sitting on with a statement like that.
It all came to a head in 2012 when the United States Anti-Doping Agency found him guilty of not only taking enhancement drugs, but also of running a doping syndicate. Armstrong was stripped of all of his titles and received a lifetime ban from all sports under the World Anti-Doping Code.
The UCI Cycling's governing body at that press conference going on in Switzerland right now, officially stripping Armstrong, banning him for life, saying, quote, there is no place in cycling for Lance Armstrong.
Armie Hammer. This actor was on the rise throughout the 2010s, starring in The Lone Ranger and The Man from U.N.C.L.E., before earning critical acclaim as Oliver in Call Me By Your Name.
So what do you do around here?
Read books, transcribe music, swim at the river, go out at night. I don't know.
That sounds fun.
But everything collapsed in January of 2021. It was then that text messages that revealed Hammer's violent fantasies were made public.
For weeks, I've been trying to process everything that has transpired. I am shocked, heartbroken, and devastated.
Other women also came forward with additional allegations, and the woman who leaked the original texts accused Hammer of sexually assaulting her in 2017. The actor dropped out or was fired from a string of projects and moved to the Cayman Islands, where he reportedly worked as a timeshare salesman.
I'm not responding to these expletive claims, but in light of the vicious online attacks against me, I cannot, in good conscience, now leave my children for 4 months to shoot a film.
In 2023, the Los Angeles DA declined to charge him criminally due to insufficient evidence. Charlie Sheen. This actor enjoyed decades of success, with his mainstream popularity spanning back to the late 80s.
And your problem is you.
Excuse me?
Excuse you. You ought to spend a little more time dealing with yourself, a little less time worrying about what your brother does. That's just an opinion.
However, he underwent a very public downfall throughout the 2010s, owing mainly to his problems with substance use. Following a stint in rehab, Sheen was fired from 2.5 Men for making offensive comments about his boss, Chuck Lorre.
The show claimed that you were unable to perform your duties. They cited erratic behavior and derogatory public comments about the show. You claim it was wrongful termination. Is the truth somewhere in the middle there, Charlie?
The derogatory stuff is true.
The termination resulted in a lot of publicity for the actor, as did his increasingly erratic behavior. He rode this publicity and found consistent work, including an FX sitcom called Anger Management that ran for 100 episodes.
Guys, this is huge. This is bigger than huge.
However, Sheen's star had undeniably faded, and he has only had minimal work in TV or film since 2017. Matt Lauer. One of the most prominent American newsmen, Matt Lauer, found great success co-hosting the NBC program Today. He lasted 20 years on the show, with his tenure spanning from 1997 to 2017.
We're very excited to be celebrating you, Matt, and Al and I were lucky enough to be here when it all started.
in 1997.
It was in that year that a fellow NBC employee reported that Lauer had repeatedly harassed her. Many other allegations were reported throughout the following years, and according to journalist Ronan Farrow, NBC was fully aware of Lauer's predatory behavior.
The evidence in this book, the documentation and paper trail of settlements, reveals that there were multiple arrangements to keep women quiet who had allegations against Matt Lauer years before this one that got him fired.
They only acted following the public accusation and fired Lauer in November 2017. Lauer and his wife divorced in 2019, and Lauer has reportedly spent his time writing a tell-all book.
It had been a stunning fall from grace for Matt Lauer. After his firing, his wife divorced him. He's selling his $44 million Hamptons home and went almost totally dark on social media.
Roseanne Barr. There was once a time when Roseanne Barr was the hottest name in television. Her eponymous sitcom was a huge success throughout the late 80s and 90s, running for 10 seasons and earning Barr an Emmy for Outstanding Lead Actress in a Comedy.
Oh, hold it right there. You were very, very mean to me and hurt my feelings today, and I'm not sure that I even want to talk to you yet.
The show was revived in 2018, but it only lasted one season before Barr's controversial actions got it cancelled. On May 29th of that year, Barr wrote a racist tweet aimed at former White House senior advisor Valerie Jarrett.
Within hours, ABC pulled the plug on the show, saying Roseanne's Twitter statement is abhorrent, repugnant, and inconsistent with our values, and we've decided to cancel her show.
The reaction was swift and severe, with ABC cancelling the show that same day. A spin-off titled The Connors was made without Barr, and she disappeared from the television landscape.
I know Roseanne would want me to step in and watch over the family.
No, it'd kill her. But she's already dead, so carry on.
Bill O'Reilly. One of the most popular conservative commentators, Bill O'Reilly, was known for hosting The O'Reilly Factor on Fox News.
Hi, I'm Bill O'Reilly. Thanks for watching us tonight. We'll have the Talking Points memo a bit later on, but first, an interview with Donald Trump,
which ran for 21 seasons between 1996 and 2017. While the program was an enormous success in the ratings, it came to a sudden end once settlements against O'Reilly were made known. The New York Times broke a story and revealed that O'Reilly had been the target of 5 sexual harassment lawsuits.
The path to O'Reilly's ouster began 2 weeks ago with a New York Times investigation revealing that 5 women, including guests and employees of his show, had been paid $13 million in settlements.
Both he and Fox News paid millions in settlements to keep them under wraps. Advertisers dropped their support for the O'Reilly Factor once the news was made public, and Fox fired their most popular host. He then started hosting a podcast called No Spin News.
Hey, Bill O'Reilly here. Welcome to the No Spin News.
Jussie Smollett. Beginning in 2015, ex-child star Jussie Smollett began starring as Jamal Lyon on Fox's Empire.
Is this your idea of a sick joke? Nah, I mean, you seem kind of jealous of the song I wrote for Mom, so I wrote one for you. Did you know about this?
The series was an immediate success, garnering several Emmy nominations and being named one of the 10 best shows of the year by the American Film Institute. In January 2019, Smollett fabricated a fake hate crime and was later sued by the city of Chicago.
Breaking overnight. A law enforcement source familiar with the investigation tells NBC News that Chicago police are now looking into whether Empire actor Jussie Smollett actually paid 2 men to fake an attack against him.
They filed a lawsuit hoping to reclaim over $130,000 that they had spent fruitlessly investigating Smollett's tall tale. He was also fired from Empire and hasn't appeared on TV since. In December of 2021, Smollett was found guilty of 5 felony counts of disorderly conduct and sentenced to 150 days in county jail.
There are people that are actual, genuine victims of hate crimes that you did damage to. I don't know how this is going to impact other people, if they're going to be hesitant to come forward because they're going to think that they're going to be accused of acting like you.
Kanye West. Ever since making his debut as a recording artist in the early 2000s, Kanye West became one of the most influential figures of the 21st century, in hip-hop and fashion.
Yeah, I always find something wrong. You've been putting up with my ish just way too long.
Throughout his career, West has been at the centre of controversy more than just a handful of times, but perhaps the most consequential came in 2022. The rapper was first criticised for wearing a White Lives Matter t-shirt at the Paris Fashion Week.
I thought the shirt was
a funny shirt. I thought the idea of me wearing it was funny.
Soon after, he tweeted anti-Semitic remarks when he was locked out of his Instagram account. West faced immediate backlash, resulting in the loss of his billionaire status and multiple business partnerships with companies like Balenciaga, Gap, and Adidas.
Other brands have made similar moves. Gap is now pulling its Yeezy Gap line from store shelves. Luxury fashion house Balenciaga and talent agency CAA have dropped him. A completed documentary about his life has also been shelved.
While West has been said to have mental health issues, it's clear his career will likely never be the same. Phil Spector. Throughout the 1960s and 70s, Phil Spector was a highly sought-after music producer, having worked with acts like the Beatles, the Righteous Brothers, and Ike and Tina Turner. Over the next few decades, he retreated from the spotlight, only to make headlines in 2003 for all the wrong reasons.
He appeared eccentric, troubled, lonely, a man mired in his own darkness.
On February 3rd of that year, Spector fatally shot actress Lana Clarkson in his Alhambra, California home. This led to murder charges, and in 2007, he faced a trial that ended in a mistrial. A second trial commenced the following year, ultimately resulting in his conviction and a prison sentence of 19 years to life.
But after one mistrial, Spector was convicted in 2009 of second-degree murder.
His legacy will forever be that of a convicted murderer who happened to write songs.
In January 2021, while serving his sentence, Spector died, reportedly from complications of COVID-19. R. Kelly. A huge star of the 90s, R. Kelly is a multi-Grammy winner who has sold over 75 million records.
I believe I can fly. I believe I can touch the sky.
However, he was also repeatedly accused of sexual misconduct and assault by multiple individuals. Kelly managed to evade consequences for his behaviour for decades, until the release of the 2019 Lifetime documentary Surviving R. Kelly, which chronicled his history of allegations.
I felt like my silence allowed it to continue. I worked up the courage to come forward and tell my story. A part of me always felt like maybe I did something for him to treat me that way. I want my story to be heard.
Following its release, the singer was dropped by RCA Records and charged with new crimes. He was found guilty of racketeering and of violating the Mann Act, which concerns the transportation of women for illicit activities. Kelly faced another trial in the state of Illinois and was found guilty, bringing his total prison sentence to 31 years.
And showed no remorse, and in fact seemed to believe that as a music superstar, he was somehow immune from having to behave lawfully.
Harvey Weinstein. This man was once a powerful figure in Hollywood.
Harvey Weinstein was the king of Hollywood, a mogul with 81 Oscars to his name.
The co-founder of both Miramax and the Weinstein Company, Harvey Weinstein is the Oscar and Tony-winning producer behind works like Pulp Fiction, Good Will Hunting, and Shakespeare in Love. However, behind the scenes, he used his power and influence to sexually harass and assault women. Things came to a head in October of 2017, when the New York Times and the New Yorker reported over a dozen allegations against him, sparking the #MeToo movement.
It's been 5 years since allegations against Harvey Weinstein set in motion a movement that changed Hollywood and the world. Some women still hoping for justice.
In total, over 80 women came forth, accusing Weinstein of harassment and/or assault, including popular actress Rose McGowan. Weinstein was charged and found guilty of 2 felonies and sentenced to 23 years in prison.
We have breaking news for you. Harvey Weinstein is heading to prison. Judge James Burke in New York City just delivered the sentence, 23 years.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Bill Cosby. While he had been a successful comedian since the 60s, Bill Cosby is mostly remembered for starring as Cliff Huxtable in the enormously popular The Cosby Show.
It's under control, so no problem.
Right. How do you expect to get into college with grades like this?
No problem.
Huh?
See, I'm not going to college.
Damn right.
He gained a reputation as America's dad throughout the 1980s, but this changed dramatically in the 2010s. After comedian Hannibal Buress drew attention to allegations against Cosby in 2014, numerous women came forward with further accusations of sexual assault, dating all the way back to the mid-60s. On September 25, 2018, Cosby was sentenced to prison for aggravated indecent assault. He remained behind bars for nearly 3 years, but his conviction was overturned on June 30th, 2021.
The Philadelphia Supreme Court threw out the conviction, saying Cosby's due process rights were violated.
While Cosby was released from prison, his career is effectively over. Can you think of any other examples? Let us know in the comments below.
Are you sorry you said that?
No.
Don't think it matters. You should be.
Absolutely not.